Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed. Today we're going to unbox or continue unboxing how to build the black child. Stick around. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unboxed. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Davis. So glad that you joined us today. I want to ask you to do me a favor before we get started. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. That's right, like, subscribe, and share. So we're talking about building the black family, and we're specifically looking at building black children as a part of building the black family. We've looked at a lot of different aspects of the black community. We've looked at the church. We've looked at economics. We've also talked about the impact that slavery and all the iterations of racism through America's history, the profound impact that it's had on the forming and the functioning of the black family. And now we're starting to talk about how we get out of this hole that we've been placed in. Because the reality of the matter, and I just read something today that blew my mind. The reality of the matter is we're going to have to pull ourselves up out of this ditch. In 1989, Michigan Congressman John Connors put a proposal for reparations on the table in the U.S. Congress. It is now 2021, and they're just getting ready to vote in the House for the first time, forming a committee to study reparations. So they're not even going to give reparations. They're just simply putting together a committee to study reparations. I want you to kind of chew on that for just a moment. All right. So one of the things that racism has done to the black community is it has kept us away from wealth and away from capital. So when you're in a capitalistic society, you need capital in order to really get ahead. So when we talk about the American dream is predicated on the ability to accumulate capital. Without capital, you're in a world of trouble. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about on this one. And so we talked last night about the education system and how the education system is failing our children of all races here in America, but it's specifically failing black children because if you try to take people who have experienced harms and trauma and have been the victim of systemic racism, you try to take those kids, put them into a brick building, into a classroom, sit them in a chair, tell them to look forward and stare at a blackboard while a teacher lectures them for several hours on end each day. You know that's not going to work. You don't pull people up like that. But you know what? I'm not telling you to take your kids out of school. If you can homeschool, that is awesome. Not a lot of people can homeschool. I respect that. So what you have to do is be intentional to counteract the negative impacts that the education system has on our children at home. You have to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to be intentional about making sure that I undo it. And one of the things that we talked about was making sure that you teach your children at home something that they're never going to learn in school. And that is entrepreneurship, teaching your children the value of multiple income streams, teaching your children the value and the power of working for themselves and charting their own destiny and being intentional about building their own wealth. They're not going to get that at school. At school, they're going to learn, get an education, get a good job. Get an education, get a good job. And if you're really good, you can become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer, and you can work for somebody else and they'll determine your life. And if you're really good, you don't ever have to worry about the economy taking a downturn and having to beg not to be fired. We don't want our children in that position. We want to be intentional. Now, I kind of put the cart before the horse. So today I'm going to talk about something I probably should have talked about yesterday. And that is, you can't expect the education system to train your children adequately. So you have to take responsibility upon yourself. It is time for us as Blacks to pull ourselves up our bootstraps. Are we owed reparations? Yes, we are. Should the United States government do what is right and pass certain laws to level the playing field? Yes, they should. Will they? If past is prologue, no, they won't. And so we have to take the responsibility upon ourselves. And one of the ways that we do that is by taking ownership of our children's education. And one of the ways we take ownership of our children's education is by teaching them. Are you ready for this? Drum roll, please. Teach financial literacy. Like I said, I probably should have dealt with this yesterday and talked about entrepreneurship today. But teach your children financial literacy. In other words, children need to understand the various terms relative to the stock market. What are stocks? What are bonds? What are futures? They need to understand, what are ETFs? What are mutual funds? What's the difference between them? What is, the foreign exchange market? All these other different types of markets. What is NASDAQ? What is the Dow? What is the S&P? They need to understand these things. What are small cap, mid caps, all that other stuff. They need to be financially literate. And the school's not going to teach them these different things. So one of the things that you as a parent have to do is to expose them and to educate your children. And you can't wait till they get to high school. Don't learn from my mistakes. Again, promise me, son, not to do the things I've done. Don't wait until they get older and you got to start this stuff when they're children, teaching them principles about compounding interest and all of those things. So teach financial literacy. And it's so important because the entire capitalistic society of America for the last 400 years has placed laws and regulations in place to deny African Americans access to capital. What I mean by that, we know about redlining and other attempts that have been made to keep us away from the housing market. For instance, it is easier for African Americans, even in 2021, it is easier for us to get car loans than it is for us to get house loans. Because, of course, cars depreciate. They do not help to build your financial portfolio, but houses do. Houses actually help to build wealth. It's one of the ways that the middle class in America was formed, was through the housing market. And African Americans have been legally blocked for years. And then after they passed the laws, they just been blocked just by, hey, you know what? Catch us if you can. We're going to do it. Just like they're doing right now with the PPP and the other stimuluses that have been passed. We just realizing over and over again, African-American businesses, African-American companies are not getting access to these funds. They're actually, NPR did a wonderful story about how certain banks are adding additional regulations just so they can block blacks from getting access to these loans and capital. The information's out there. You can read it for yourself. Another thing is small business loans. African Americans are blocked out of the small business loan market. Matter of fact, the average business loan for an African American business is $25,000. The average business loan for a white business is between $250,000 and $2.5 million. So educating our children with financial literacy at least helps them to walk into the game understanding the rules of the game and how the game is played, so that they can begin to strategize and outthink the game. They're not going to learn this at school. You got to educate them at home, Mom. You got to educate them at home, Dad. You got to make sure that your children are being exposed. And there are wonderful books by Dave Ramsey. There are other books that are out there that you can, and other materials, financial literacy for children, whatever it may be. Get your children understanding how money works. All right. That's the end of our show for today. Teach your children financial literacy. We got to dig ourselves out of this hole. They stole it, but you must return it. They stole it, but you must return it. That's what Dr. Richard Williams said. They stole it, but you must return it. Okay, listen, my friends, I'm so thankful that you joined us. I'll see you again, hopefully on Sunday evening. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Make sure that you check out our website, and make sure that you educate our Black children on financial literacy and on how to be entrepreneurs so that we have control of our own destiny. Until then, have a wonderful day.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swguboxed.com. swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.